The Leader and the Wapal by J.Writer. A long time ago there existed the Wapal, a large orange creature with bright yellow eyes. It was round and it was fat, and it loved sugar cane. One day a group of townsfolk rushed to their leader's house to tell him the news. "Leader, leader," they called, "our sugar cane fields, they have been eaten." Now sugar cane was what fed and clothed the town. It was their livelihood, and without it they would likely starve. Hearing the complaints, the leader of the town got mad. Without any fields, the townsfolk could not pay taxes. He would starve as well. Knowing exactly who ate the fields, he rushed out. Stories of Wapal had run rampant in nearby towns. He would eat all the food and fall asleep in the forest. But he also knew it was near impossible to stop. Luckily for him, Wapals were also notorious for making deals. So he ran to the nearby forest to search for the creature. When he found it, he asked, Wapal, how could you eat all our food? Without it, my people will starve." Wapal, who was sound asleep, stirred. Its large and intimidating frame shook the ground as it turned to look at the little human that woke it. "Human, you are the leader of the nearby town?" Yes, roared the leader. He was clearly afraid, but he stood his ground nonetheless. The Wapal turned silent for a while before continuing. "Land does not belong to anyone. By laws of nature, if you cannot protect it, you will lose it. Besides, I did not eat all your sugar cane. I merely eat half. In another year's time, the cane will grow plentiful, and your people will live." But we only had just enough to get by," the leader began, only to be interrupted by the Wapal's query. "I notice no mansions in your town. You must be a humble man." The leader paused, confused. "What does this have to do with anything?" "For a leader to live so humbly must be a crime. Why can't your people ration? They are plenty healthy already, some even fat. While you, who struggles to work for them to keep the place running smoothly, lives in such a raggedy small hut. Would it harm them to eat less and give you more?" The leader grew quiet. He seemed lost in thought. Though Paul took the opportunity to say something more. "What if I take half of next year's crop and give you a more sizable share? More than any tax you would have gotten. You will get what you deserve, and I would have filled my belly." Tempted, and feeling that the Wapal would not stop either way, the leader made the deal. He went back to the town and told the townsfolk that he had chased the Wapal away, but it had already eaten all the sugar cane. "We shall ration for next year," is what he said. When next year did come, the townsfolk rushed to the leader's house, which was notably larger than any other house in the town that year. "Leader, leader, our sugar cane, they have been eaten." The townsfolk were all skinny, skinnier than he had ever seen them, but they were not starving. "Surely not all?" the leader asked. "Well, it ate 2/3. That's more than last time," one of the townsfolk yelled out. The leader roared in anger and ran off into the forest. Of course, this time it was mostly an act. He was not really angry, but came to collect his portion of the sugar cane and ask why the Wapal took more than he was supposed to. "Wapal," he began, "why did you take more than half our fields? This was not our deal." The Wapal stirred. Its large orange body was bigger than ever. Smacking its lips, still wet from the juice of the sugar cane, it said slowly, "What? I took more than half? I did not notice. Well, I have left you a sizable portion. If you think I took too much, you could always take from your portion and give it back to the townsfolk." No, he replied, looking at the mound of sugar cane by his feet. "No need for that." And with such an ending, he went back to placate the people. "We just need to ration more, and we will be fine." The townsfolk rumbled, but they could do nothing. They had to believe in their leader, and so they went back. They rationed and worked the fields. The following year, their fields were eaten again, and the cycle continued for another 2 years. "It eats more and more," they would say. As the people grew skinnier and skinnier, their bones showing under their skin, and their breath becoming more ragged as they labored, they began to notice on how fatter the leader became, how larger his house grew. How was it that as they suffered, their leader only grew more wealthy? How was it as they starved, their leader stayed stuffed? It wasn't as if they didn't want their leader to thrive, but his role was to take care of them, and he clearly failed. Their hearts grew cold towards the leader as the years passed. Suddenly, disaster struck. There was a terrible storm that wiped out what little crops the village had left. There was no savings to help them go through. And so they marched on the leader. Enough was enough. When the leader found out that the townsfolk were coming for him, he ran. He ran all the way to the forest to see the Wapal. Bigger and more orange than ever, the bright yellow-eyed creature stared steadily at the now fat town leader. "You're here early this year," it said, cackling. "The food, it's all gone. The storm, now my people are after me." "No food? And you've lost your position? Our deal is void." The leader jumped. "No, Wapal, give back the food you took this year. I know you did not eat it all. Give it back, give it back. There won't be food for you next year." The Wapal simply laughed. "Human, I can just go to the next town and make deals with other short-sighted fools like you." The forest grew brighter and brighter as the torches from the townsfolk grew near. They had chased after the leader after finding some sugarcane stores in his grand home. How did the leader have so much when they had none? But these stores were not enough for all. And as the Wapal left the forest with its sugarcane, heading to the next town, the leader ran away, desolate, leaving an angry people to starve.